It matures. My voice has matured in the last 3 years.
She was the voice of a generation, a woman with a once-in-a-lifetime talent who conquered the world with her voice, her beauty, and her presence. But behind the spotlight, Whitney Houston was fighting a battle most of us never saw coming. This is not just a story about fame or music. This is a story about pain, love, addiction, and betrayal, and the heartbreaking fall of one of the greatest voices the world has ever known. This is what really happened to Whitney Houston. Whitney Elizabeth Houston was born on August 9, 1963, in Newark, New Jersey. She was literally born into music. Her mother, Cissy Houston, was a gospel legend. Her cousin, Dionne Warwick, and Aretha Franklin, she was family too, not by blood, but in every way that counted. By the time Whitney was just 11, she was already singing in the church choir with a voice so powerful it brought grown men to tears. But no one could have predicted just how massive her impact would be. In the early 80s, Clive Davis of Arista Records discovered her singing in a nightclub, and that moment changed everything. Her debut album, released in 1985, was a cultural phenomenon. With hits like Saving All My Love for You and How Will I Know, Whitney didn't just arrive, she exploded. By 1986, she was winning Grammys. By 1987, she had 7 consecutive #1 singles on the Billboard Hot 100, a record still unbroken, but success came with a price. With every new hit, the pressure to stay perfect grew heavier. Whitney was marketed as America's sweetheart, elegant, classy, and clean. But it wasn't the full picture. There were rumors of difficult behavior, of emotional struggles. She began facing criticism that she wasn't black enough in her music, that she was too pop, that she was manufactured. These criticisms hurt her deeply. She wanted to be herself, but the industry had already decided who she had to be. At the same time, the world was watching her rise and starting to see the cracks. In 1992, she starred in The Bodyguard alongside Kevin Costner. The film was a hit, but it was her voice on I Will Always Love You that became iconic, a global anthem of heartbreak and longing. That same year, she married Bobby Brown, and that's when everything changed. Their relationship was complicated. Whitney and Bobby were total opposites. She was America's golden girl. He was the bad boy of R&B. Their love was passionate, intense, and in many ways, destructive. The public saw it all unfold in tabloids and interviews. Bobby was accused of being a bad influence, introducing Whitney to drugs. But the truth was more complex. Whitney had already been using substances before they met. Their marriage was filled with fights, breakups, reconciliations, and chaos. The 2005 reality show, Being Bobby Brown, exposed even more. A raw, often painful look into their lives, and the world began to ask, what happened to the Whitney we knew? Behind closed doors, Whitney was struggling with cocaine addiction. Her weight fluctuated. Her voice, once untouchable, started showing signs of damage. Live performances became unpredictable. She was sometimes late, sometimes not all there, but always she tried to hide the pain. And through it all, she was raising a daughter, Bobbi Kristina. In the late 2000s, Whitney's world was falling apart. She divorced Bobby Brown in 2007, but the scars remained. She tried to make a comeback. In 2009, she released I Look to You. The album debuted at #1, a glimmer of hope. But when she went on tour in 2010, critics tore her apart. Her voice, once called The Voice, now sounded strained and broken. Behind the scenes, Whitney was still using. She would often isolate herself, chain smoke, and talk about regrets, especially around her career, her choices, and her daughter. Friends said she had moments of clarity, of peace, but they were fleeting. She was surrounded by people, yet utterly alone. On 11 February 2012, Whitney was staying at the Beverly Hilton Hotel, preparing to attend Clive Davis' annual pre-Grammy party. That morning, she was seen looking disoriented. Witnesses say she was sweating, rambling, behaving erratically. Later that day, at 3:36 p.m., Whitney was found unconscious in the bathtub of her hotel suite. Paramedics tried to resuscitate her, but it was too late. She was only 48 years old. The autopsy revealed she had cocaine, marijuana, Xanax, and Benadryl in her system. Here is the question: The official cause of death? Accidental drowning, with heart disease and drug use listed as contributing factors. The world mourned. Her funeral was broadcast live, watched by millions. Legends like Stevie Wonder, Alicia Keys, and Kevin Costner spoke of her brilliance and her pain. The tragedy didn't end with Whitney. In 2015, just 3 years after her mother's death, Bobbi Kristina was found face down in a bathtub, eerily similar to Whitney's final moments. She remained in a coma for months before passing away. She was only 22. Questions swirled. Was it trauma? Was it drugs? Was it neglect? No one ever truly answered what happened to Bobbi Kristina, just like no one fully answered what happened to Whitney. Today, when we hear "I Will Always Love You," we feel the ache in her voice, the longing, the soul. Whitney Houston's story is a cautionary tale, but also a legacy of unmatched talent. She gave the world her voice, her smile, her soul, and the world gave her applause. But maybe, just maybe, it didn't give her enough love. This was the story of Whitney Houston, the woman behind the music, behind the headlines, behind the fall. What really happened to Whitney Houston? Now you know.